update. Am I the a-hole for responding to my father's request for a relationship with a detailed PowerPoint on why he will never be forgiven? Original post. If I'm the a-hole here, I'll own it. I'm not sorry, but like it would be good to know because the rest of the family thinks this went too far. My 24 female mom died when I was 7 from leukemia. I have very few memories of her from before she was sick, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with her in her last year. But she was an artist, and until she couldn't anymore, she would make me little collages when she was in the hospital with drawings and photos and messages for me. My grandmother put them all in a book for me after she died. I wanted to be like my mom, and my counselor thought it would help, so I started a journal where I would do kind of a similar thing, and I've done at least 1 page a week all these years ever since my mom died. More when I miss her or have something hard going on. So I have a kind of a unique record of my mental state over the last 16 years. My father remarried when I was 9. My stepmother really leaned hard into me, I'm your mom now, and my father didn't stop her. It improved when they had my half-brother because she basically forgot about me then. Unfortunately, he got cancer when he was 3, and I pretty much ceased to exist for my father. He was either working or gone, with my brother and I spent all my teen years mostly at home alone or with my grandparents. The mantra was that my brother needed to be the focus because he might die, so I needed to not be selfish since I was healthy. I stopped trying to talk to him when I was 16, and it was a dark time. I moved out when I was 18 and cut them off completely. My grandparents let me know that my brother died a couple of years ago, but respected my desire to remain non-contact with my father. He recently reached out to them because he wants to see me and to talk. I went through my old journals and made him a PowerPoint with images of the entries where I had talked about being frustrated and feeling abandoned and unwanted. Some with literal quotes of things my dad had said to me during arguments. Even the really dark stuff from when I was seriously depressed. Then I ended it with a photo of one of my mom's collages where she had written, "Remember that your dad and I are always here for you." And I wrote, "You failed, go away." Underneath, I felt like him being able to see it from my literal perspective would communicate why I don't want him back better than I could. Evidently it worked, but a little too well because I've been bombarded by family telling me that it's understandable that I don't want to see him, but what I sent gutted him, and he's completely fallen apart after reading through it, and it was unnecessarily cruel. Maybe it was. I know my bar for that is kind of weird sometimes, so am I the a-hole? Now, my opinion for OP. You are definitely not the a-hole in this situation. I think what's going on is that your dad feels guilty, and he knows that he didn't do right by you when you were growing up, when you needed him the most during your childhood, and especially after losing your mother. The truth hurts, and your dad just has to deal with it. The best of luck to you, OP. Now for some comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. I have a saying, if the truth about your conduct paints you in a bad light, the problem isn't the truth, it's with your conduct. If the truth hurts your dad, it's his own to deal with and not on you. Edit. Thank you all for the many awards. I wasn't expecting it to blow up the way that it did. For those loving the saying and planning on using it, happy to help. It's been a very handy saying and it's helped me lots. Hope it helps you all too. Not the a-hole. Current read states it very clearly. Interesting that dad feels gutted now when he finally has decided he wanted a relationship with the daughter who he himself cut off. A father saying something that was the equivalent, "You will be fine raising yourself," without any attention from us, while he and stepmother focused entirely on OP's half-brother, all because she was healthy, is just wrong. Then waiting 6 years until after his son passed makes the timing even worse. And for those who are saying that OP is being cruel, obviously didn't live her life, so they should IMO butt out. Not the a-hole. In the slightest. You told your dad how you felt, and it made him have to confront his failures as a parent. It's not your fault that he neglected you. He is upset because he knows what you put in the PowerPoint is the reality of how he treated you when you were just a child. Now that the truth is out and you have reestablished no contact, I hope you're able to let go of some of the anger you have at him and know that you did nothing to cause how he treated you. I'm no contact with my dad and have been able to find a lot of peace in the life that I have built without him. I hope for the same for you. The detailed evidence of his failure is exactly what has him so upset. He could downplay and gaslight when it was just someone saying it happened, but OP brought receipts. He can't downplay OP's exact quotes, and so he has to actually acknowledge how much and how badly he effed up. Boo-hoo, no sympathy at all. OP's edit. Couple of follow-up notes since it came up in the comments. 1. I loved my brother. I don't resent him. He was a good kid and I wish he was still with us. None of this is his fault. To me, it's completely my father's and to a lesser extent, stepmother's. The parents prevented me from spending time with him as he got sicker, so I wouldn't have been allowed to be there for him even if I had been able to, which I wasn't towards the end because I was also struggling to stay alive. 2. I have empathy. I understand what my father lost. I was there. I also lost those same people plus effectively my father. Even so, to me, there is no excuse for completely shutting your own kid completely out of your own life while also preventing them from getting any kind of help. I understand depression and freezing up. I've been there and I still, even not being an adult, manage to consider the impact of my behavior on other people. If he was that bad off, he should have given me up to be raised by someone else. My mom's parents asked and he wouldn't agree to let me stay with them full time. I could have had a dad that was able to occasionally tell me he loved me, even if it was just a text message. Alternatively, I could have lived with my grandparents and had people around me who cared about me every day, even if that wasn't my father. I got neither, and every request for help of any kind was met with, "Suck it up." I can empathize with having to function while breaking down inside, but I can't empathize with what he did. 3. I gather from relatives who have backed off after some hard boundary setting that my father and stepmother split not long ago and are in divorce proceedings, which is why he reached out now and why the rest of the family was upset with how I responded at the time. He wasn't in a good place already. I've told them that if they care about him, to encourage him to keep away from me, refuse to pass on messages, and try to get him into inpatient care or something if they're that worried that he's going to do something rash. I don't want anything to do with him, and I've told them that I don't want to hear about anything that happens after this point. But the rest of his family love him, so for their sake, I hope he pulls himself together. Now for the update. A bunch of people have been asking for an update, so I'm doing it here instead of on the main sub because the original blew up more than I want to deal with again. I had a talk with my paternal grandparents over Christmas vacation and showed them the PowerPoint. They had no idea that things were as bad as they were or that I was actively suicidal at the time, and the accidents that I had as a teen were not really accidents. So while they think it was still dangerously harsh under the circumstances, they understand better where I'm coming from, admit that my father messed up big time and that the family should have been more involved with me instead of just supporting him and my brother. They said that on the surface they thought I was fine and just having trouble adjusting, but if they had known about the things described in the journal, they would have insisted my father get help. They do want me to reconcile with him, but they understand why it might be too late for that, so they've agreed not to bring him up unless I do so first, and not pass on information either way. So that was actually productive. As for my father, I know a lot of people think that I'll regret it if I don't reconcile, forgive, or whatever, but I'm not sure that's true. I've tried to imagine a conversation with him that wouldn't make things worse, and I can't. Best case scenario, he's sorry and has a good grovel, but honestly, I think hearing that would just make me hate him more. Worst case scenario, nothing has really changed and I have to walk away before I end up with an assault charge. I also just can't imagine any real benefit or function to having him in my life, so connecting seems like a lot of work for no gain. As far as forgiveness, I don't know if that's actually possible. Apathy, maybe. As far as I know, he's alive, I've made it super clear that anyone who tries to give me information about him that I don't request will also get the drop. So I'm probably not going to get any further updates. I'd rather just go back to forgetting he exists. For me, I'm probably as fine as I'm going to be. I have therapy and meds. I can pass for a functional human most of the time. My deal with myself is that I have to at least stick around until my maternal grandparents pass so they don't hurt and I can wrap things up for them. Story 2. Me, 52 male, just found out at least 4 of my 5 children, 33 female, 30 female, 28 male, 24 female, and 14 female, are not mine. My wife, 51 female, won't say anything. Plus update. Original post. Background. I met my wife when we were in high school and we married in college. We have 5 beautiful children together. Really. I consider them a total blessing regardless of what I'm about to bring up. And up until a couple of weeks ago, I thought that we had the perfect marriage. We were typical high school sweethearts. We go out together, we never fight. I feel like I've done everything a loving husband should do. I am saying this not to make myself out as the perfect husband. For example, my work has always meant that I work long hours and maybe haven't always been there when she needed me. But I want to stress that I've never felt our marriage was in any kind of trouble. And never in a million years would I've ever suspected my wife of being disloyal. She's always done everything she could to support me and take care of her children. Now my eldest daughter recently had an ancestry test done, and the results of the ancestry test strongly suggested I was not her father. She confided this to me in private, showing me the results, and I could tell that she was visibly upset by this. Of course, the first thing that I did was reassure her that no matter what, she's my daughter and I'll always love her unconditionally. But secondly, the two of us decided to get an official paternity test since the ancestry tests are not completely reliable. It comes back and I am indeed not her biological father. This news really broke me. I'm ashamed to say that I broke down in tears in front of my daughter. The combination of finding out about my wife's infidelity and how upset I was making my daughter by how I was reacting. I really wish that I'd kept it in for her sake, but I didn't. Following this, I asked my other children except my youngest to come and see me. I wanted to know the extent of my wife's infidelity. If it was a one-off, I could maybe work past it, especially given how long ago it would be. However, I didn't want to tell my youngest as she is still in school, a teenager, and really I didn't think it was appropriate to tell her yet. We tell the other 3 what has happened. I reassure them that I love them unconditionally and that I'll always be there as their dad, but that I need to know how long this has been going on for. Goodness, I can't begin to explain how touching their reaction was. They didn't care I wasn't their biological father. They were just upset at how heartbroken I was. I feel like the only thing that has kept me going these last couple of weeks is their unwavering support. So we have the paternity test for each of the 3 done. Not only are none of them my biological children, together 4 of my children have 3 different fathers, which somehow made it worse. It's like she wasn't just having an ongoing affair, she was having multiple. I can't explain how this makes it worse, but it just does. So I confront my wife with this, expecting her to confess and beg for forgiveness. She doesn't confess, she doesn't even take it seriously. She says the tests were flawed, all 4. How the hell am I supposed to take that seriously? I keep bringing it up and she keeps brushing it off, getting progressively more annoyed at me. When I bring it up, she will try and guilt trip me. We've been together since high school. You seriously not trust me, etc. But how am I supposed to trust her in the face of such overwhelming evidence? Now that I've rambled and explained what has happened, I guess let me ask a few direct questions for advice. 1. How can I reassure my children this doesn't change anything between us? I feel like the way that I've reacted, total breakdowns, has made them second guess this despite how many times that I reassure them. 2. How do I handle my youngest daughter? I feel like our marriage is beyond saving and I will need to tell my daughter something. I don't want her to know the truth until she's older, but I also don't want my wife lying and making me out to be the villain. 3. Is there any way at all you can think I could or should save my marriage? I've been with my wife my entire life. It's almost impossible to see a life without her. I know that the answer should be clear-cut, leave her. But we have 5 kids together. If there's anything that can be done to save our marriage, I want to consider it seriously. Edit. Thanks so much to everyone for their support and advice. I have not replied to as many comments as I should have, but I've read each and every one and taken your advice to heart. I'll continue reading my comments or messages you send me. Again, I can't begin to thank you all for your support. If this is resolved, I might post an update. But if she continues to lie, then I don't think I'll bother, as there's not much more that I can add. From the advice in this and the Our Parenting thread, I've decided to 1. Get second test just in case some freak accident has occurred. 2. Confront my wife with all 4 of my older children present. 3. Tell my youngest of the situation. Ask her if she wants to have a paternity test. It will be entirely her decision. 4. I'm 100% going to get some form of therapy. My mental state has really been deteriorating over the last couple of weeks, and I owe it to my kids to hold it together. 5. Depending on whether my wife tells the truth and what her explanation is, if any, I have not ruled out some form of counseling. But at the moment, I think divorce is inevitable unless she changes her attitude drastically. 6. Contact a lawyer and prepare for divorce if it comes to that. 7. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for the time you took to express your support and share advice. Edit 2. I guess I should clarify some things that people have been asking. 1. How did the ancestry results suggest that I wasn't her father? My family is entirely Irish. No relatives outside of Ireland other than my immediate family, and I even have the stereotypical red hair. My daughter's ancestry results showed nothing from the British Isles, Western Europe, Northern Europe. That's what set off alarm bells, but it's by no means conclusive, hence the paternity tests. 2. Which 2 children share the same father? My 2 eldest daughters share the same father. 3. How did your wife conceive your children? Our eldest daughter was not planned. All the others were planned. Each time, we conceived several months after we started trying. Our first 3 planned children were both of our ideas, while she pressured me into having her youngest. She was in her late 30s and wanted one last child before it was too late, and eventually I agreed. She was conceived several months after we started trying too. 4. Are you infertile? I don't know. I have never had a fertility test done. But the fact that none of our planned children are mine makes me think that I might be. I will have a fertility test as soon as possible. Now for the updates. First update. I have received a lot of messages and comments asking for an update and countless remind me comments. I am unsure how they work, but I assume they are also after an update. I will post an update, but it will not be anytime soon. This entire mess will take a long time to, make any sense out of. I don't know when I'll post an update, but it will be weeks from now at minimum, if not months. But I promise it will come eventually. Once again, thanks for the tremendous support everyone has shown me. Second and final update. I have been debating whether or not to post an update because nothing has ever been resolved. I decided I would post it here in case anyone is still waiting for one. I apologize for not updating earlier when I promised that I would. My kids and I confronted their mother shortly after making that Reddit post. It really didn't go well. I think the prospect that no one believed her finally hit home because she finally broke down and apologized profusely, but refused to explain herself or anything that would give myself peace of mind. For the next few weeks, we barely said a word to each other. I was hoping she was thinking it over, and I expected her to eventually sit me down and explain herself. I figured she was so far deep in a lie that got out of control. She needed time to think things over. Nope. I came home one evening to find that she had committed suicide by overdosing. So I lost the love of my life, and I'll never know what mistakes that she made. I really wish that I could go back in time and forget about it all. Whatever mistakes she made, I honestly wanted to work through it, and now I'm just riddled with guilt that I pressed her for an answer. The worst part of this entire ordeal was watching my kids work so hard to keep me together, after having lost their mother. Anyway, please tell your family you love them while you have the chance. Story 3. Why 34 female wants an abortion after planned pregnancy? How should I, a 33 male, react to this? Me, 33 male, and my wife, 34 female, have been together for 8 years, and married for 4. We have a 3-year-old son who is the love of my life. The first year after birth was harsh to say the least. Colic, lack of sleep, moving, and the death of my father-in-law, an event we're still recovering from, and which has left some mental scarring on my wife. But we powered through, and our marriage has been great for a long time. About 6 or 7 months ago, we were driving home from my mother-in-law's, and we decided we were ready for another child. This was a very sweet moment, and the following months were fantastic, and our relationship was almost better than it's always been. Becoming pregnant was not as easy as we had hoped. My wife became incredibly disappointed every time it didn't happen. One time she said it would be a huge disappointment if we never got a second child, and she did everything in her power to improve the chances of getting pregnant. About 5 weeks ago, she finally had a positive pregnancy test, and my wife was ecstatic. She took pregnancy tests every day for several days and even went to our GP to confirm it with a blood test. We talked about names and planned our future together. 10 days ago, my wife didn't get out of bed and said that she felt unwell. Later at work, I got a text from her where she wrote that she felt awful and didn't want to go through with the pregnancy. I told her it was just morning sickness and hormones messing with her head. Things got worse over the next few days, and she would hardly get out of bed all day and didn't react when her son wanted attention, which is very out of character. She kept saying that she had changed her mind and wanted an abortion. I repeated that it was just hormones, and I thought that she really wants this child. We even went to an early ultrasound, which was normal. I felt warm and happy when I saw the heartbeat, but my wife said that she wanted to throw up. Things have escalated over the last few days, and we've had ugly arguments where we both broke down crying. I had to call in sick on a 24-hour shift just to make sure our son was taken care of. She keeps insisting on having an abortion, and I have said that she is sick, that I'm worried and that she needs help. I've said some things which I regret. Once I asked if she was psychotic because her logic didn't make any sense, and I also asked her not to kill our child. I apologized quickly for the latter and said that I misspoke about the damage was already done, and she has used it against me several times afterwards. I called her GP today while my wife was still in bed to make an appointment. My wife rushed out of the bedroom, snatched the phone, and yelled that our marriage was over. We managed to get an appointment, and our GP referred us to a psychiatrist. Our GP didn't think my wife was mentally ill and didn't prescribe any medication. She said that this should be handled by a professional psychiatrist. We sat down and talked when we got home, and my wife said that she was even more determined to go through with the abortion and felt disappointed in the way that I've handled the situation, that I've ignored her feelings, calling her sick, and even been mentally abusing her and trying to manipulate her into not having an abortion. She also thinks our relationship is beyond repair because she will never be able to trust me again. I disagree with my wife. I have told her constantly that I love her, that I'm worried, and that she needs help while she has been using me as a mental punching bag. I've convinced her to talk to her mom, which is one of the few things which actually has helped. I have also done all the housework and taken care of her son, which has been adding to the exhaustion. I love her, our family, and the child she is carrying, and I'm completely heartbroken. I can see that she is in pain and just wants me to support her through an abortion, but I can't bring myself to say yes, even though I probably would. She asked if I could forgive her if she had an abortion. I said that I'd have to think about it, to which she responded that my answer told her everything that she needs to know. I'm generally pro-choice and has told her several times that it's her body and that I can't stop her from having an abortion. My mind is completely melted. Everything was fine 2 weeks ago, and we're looking at houses where we could raise her family, and now I'm about to lose everything. Does anyone have any advice on how to handle this situation? Edit 1. I've been asked to tell my wife's reason why she changed her mind. She basically said that she hasn't been able to feel like herself after her son was born. She has regained some feelings of herself over the last few months and is worried that she will lose herself again. We have talked about this, and we are in a much better position when we expected her son, with better economy support and work situation. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.